If you don't want a divorce, get out of this house right now. All right? These words hit me like a thunderbolt, erupting from my husband's mouth with a venom I'd never heard before. I stood there, stunned, my heart racing as the weight of his threat settled over me. Clearly, he was so confident I wouldn't dare file for divorce that he felt emboldened to intimidate me like this. But I'd had enough. The constant pressure, the endless demands, the suffocating control, it was too much. I knew I couldn't endure it any longer. So I made a choice. I sought advice from someone who could help me see a way out. My name is Anna, and I'm a 30-year-old office worker navigating a life that's become a tangled web of family expectations and personal sacrifice. My husband, James, and I are approaching what should have been a milestone, our 5th wedding anniversary. Yet, instead of celebration, I'm drowning in stress. We've been longing for the blessing of a child, but so far, that dream remains unfulfilled. This has only fueled my mother-in-law's relentless questioning about when she'll finally get her precious grandchildren. Her inquiries aren't gentle nudges. They're sharp, accusatory jabs that leave me feeling inadequate. My father-in-law passed away years ago, leaving my mother-in-law to live off the inheritance he left behind. She's comfortable, but her constant meddling in our lives has pushed me to the edge of a nervous breakdown. Honestly, I might already be there. Despite seeing my distress, James does nothing to support me. In fact, he's recently started siding with his mother, blaming me for our struggles as if I'm the sole reason we haven't conceived. I used to adore James for his kindness when we were dating, his warm smile, his thoughtful gestures. But marriage changed him. The man I fell in love with seems to have vanished, replaced by someone who prioritizes his mother's whims over our partnership. Without even consulting me, James decided we'd live near his childhood home, a choice that's tethered me to his family's demands. On my days off from work, I'm summoned to his mother's house, where I'm expected to scrub floors, wash dishes, and handle every chore imaginable. There are no breaks, no moments to catch my breath. While I toil away, James and his mother either go out for leisurely outings or lounge in the living room, watching TV and laughing as if I'm invisible. Once, I was even scolded for making too much noise with the vacuum cleaner. Can you believe it? They forbade me from using it, insisting I clean with a broom and rag instead, like some servant from a bygone era. Then, my sister-in-law returned to the fold, adding another layer of burden to my already overwhelming life. She'd been living in a neighboring town, but moved back home after a messy divorce, bringing her 4-year-old daughter with her. Suddenly, I was expected to prepare daily lunches for her kindergartner, on top of everything else. When I explained that my job made this impossible, the backlash was swift and brutal. My mother-in-law snapped, "Your sister-in-law is dealing with the aftermath of a divorce. Can't you show some compassion?" James chimed in, "Don't you want to be useful to the family, Anna?" And my sister-in-law? She had the audacity to say, "It'll be good practice for when you have a child of your own. You should be thankful." So, I found myself waking up at 4 a.m. every single morning. I'd prepare my niece's lunchbox, whip up breakfast for my in-laws, then rush back to our apartment to tackle my own housework before heading to work. It was a grueling, soul-crushing routine, and James? He didn't lift a finger to help. The only sliver of rest I got was during my brief breaks at work, stolen moments where I could breathe without someone demanding something from me. One day, after months of this relentless cycle, James dropped a bombshell that left me reeling. "Oh, by the way, Anna, you should quit your job," he said casually, as if he were suggesting we change dinner plans. "What?" I stammered, my mind struggling to process his words. "I've talked it over with my mom and sister," he continued. "You know my sister's going through a rough time. You understand, right?" No, I didn't understand. Not at all. Quit my job? And do what? I asked, my voice trembling with disbelief. "Take care of the house," he snapped, his tone sharp and dismissive before he stormed off, muttering something about taking a bath. I couldn't see any connection between my sister-in-law's divorce and me abandoning my career. James is stuck in a dead-end job, and there are months when I earn more than him. Does he really think we can survive on his salary alone? Neither my mother-in-law nor my sister-in-law works, so why can't they handle the housework? The unfairness of it all burned in my chest. Feeling like I was suffocating under the weight of their expectations, I grabbed my car keys and drove to the one place where I could find solace, my childhood home. It was a bit far from the apartment we lived in now, but it was my sanctuary. My parents had moved overseas, leaving the house empty, and I couldn't bring myself to burden them with my troubles. They're the worrying type, always fretting over me, so whenever something unpleasant happened, I'd retreat to this house filled with precious memories of simpler times. As I sat there, lost in thought, my phone rang. It was James. "Hey, Anna, I just got out of the bath, and you're gone. Are you back at your parents' place again?" he asked, his tone laced with irritation. "Yes, so what?" I replied, my voice flat. "Could you stop running back home every time something goes wrong?" "We're not kids," he snapped. His words didn't resonate with me. He loved my parents' house when it suited him, but now it was a problem. "I'll be working from here for a while," I said firmly. "And no, I won't be going to your mother's house either. Stop messing around, Anna. Come back home now," he demanded, his voice forceful. Defeated by his insistence, I returned to our apartment, but the weight of his words lingered. Soon after, I made the heart-wrenching decision to quit my beloved job in the fashion industry. My clueless coworkers speculated I might be pregnant, but the truth was far less joyful. I was given no free time, forced to manage the household from dawn to dusk. Even when I caught a cold and ran a high fever, no one cared. I'd become a servant in my own home, a slave, to put it bluntly. But then, something unexpected happened amidst this miserable lifestyle. My sister-in-law announced she was getting remarried. Her fiancé was supposedly an executive at a major corporation, earning a substantial income. It was shocking, to say the least. My sister-in-law isn't exactly a beauty, and her personality leaves much to be desired. But I understood that everyone has different tastes, and there are all sorts of people out there. The entire in-law family was overjoyed, celebrating her engagement as if she'd won the lottery, shouting about how she was marrying into money. Full of pride, my sister-in-law showed me a photo of her fiancé. I froze, staring at the image. Huh? This man, I thought, my mind racing. Before I could process it, James said something unbelievable. "Because of this, Anna, your parents' house will become my sister's family place." "Wait a minute," I said, my voice shaking with disbelief. "That house is what my parents left for me. It's not for you to decide." "The whole family has decided," he replied coldly. "You, who lives off my money, don't have a say in this." Was this the same man I married? The person standing before me felt like a devil in human skin. That house was my father's legacy, a sanctuary meant for me and any children I might have. James knew this. How could he act so selfishly? My heart was at its breaking point. As if to twist the knife, my mother-in-law chimed in, "You can't even give us a grandchild, Anna. Can't you be useful around the house for once?" There was no one on my side in this house. Overwhelmed, I hastily packed a few belongings and fled to my parents' house. I made a firm decision in my heart. I would never go back. A few days later, with no word from James, I dared to hope he might be reconsidering his actions. Then, the doorbell rang. Standing there were James and my sister-in-law. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice tight with apprehension. "We thought we should take a look around," my sister-in-law said, barging in despite my pleas for them to stop. They ignored me, snooping around my childhood home as if I were invisible. "This house is pretty nice," she sneered. "Too good for you, Anna. When do you plan to move out?" "My wedding is coming up soon. Get it together." James added, "If you don't want to get divorced, leave now." His confidence that I wouldn't dare end our marriage was palpable as he grinned alongside his sister. "Got it," he pressed, as if my compliance was a foregone conclusion. I nodded, confirming his expectations, and he seemed pleased, saying it was all he wanted to hear. Apparently, under the guise of celebrating my sister-in-law's wedding, they were planning a long, family-only trip starting tomorrow. Naturally, I wasn't included in their little escapade. James instructed me to pack up and leave by the time they returned, then left with his sister, both of them buzzing with excitement. Watching their backs as they walked away, I allowed myself a small, mirthless smile. 2 weeks later, the day of their return arrived. My phone had been ringing nonstop since morning, calls from James, my mother-in-law, and my sister-in-law. Unable to ignore the incessant noise, I finally answered. "Hey, Anna, where the hell are you?" James demanded. "I'm at home," I replied calmly. "Liar. You're not at the apartment or your parents' place." "And what's the meaning of this?" he shouted. "What are you talking about?" I asked, feigning innocence. "Your family house. There's a for sale sign." "Yeah, I put it up for sale," I said matter-of-factly. "What? What are you talking about?" he yelled, his voice cracking with panic. "Well, after you all left, I gave it some thought. The house you're in now just seems so dirty. I do like things to be clean, after all. And I'm divorcing you." "Don't mess with me," he roared. That was going to be my line, I shot back. "Let's talk through our lawyers from now on." With that, I hung up, cutting him off mid-shout. On the day they returned, I'd already contacted a friend of my father's who runs a real estate company. I knew nothing about selling houses, but he guided me through the process, and we secured a fantastic deal. As a side note, the apartment we'd been living in was in my name since James couldn't pass the screening process. So, while they were away, I canceled the lease and sent all of James's belongings to his mother's house, cash on delivery, of course. The calls from my in-laws kept coming, but I ignored them completely, recording their unbearable voicemails for evidence. According to my lawyer, James was hesitant about the divorce despite his earlier threats. It seems he didn't want to lose his maid. I thought it would be a long battle, but then he suddenly agreed to the divorce. My lawyer informed me that James, his mother, and his sister showed up at his office, demanding a quick divorce. My mother-in-law even declared they'd hire a new housekeeper with her new son-in-law's wealth and replace me with a younger, fertile wife. They offered a small settlement on the condition that I'd have no further contact with them. I thought that was supposed to be my line, but I accepted the offer. Not long after, my sister-in-law remarried, and for a while, life was quiet. Taking care of myself was so much easier than I'd imagined. I deeply regretted not divorcing sooner. Just as I was embracing my newfound freedom, an unexpected incident occurred. My in-laws showed up at my new home, uninvited. The moment I opened the door, they barged in, and my ex-husband demanded, "We need to talk." "Sit down." Wondering who they thought they were, I reluctantly took a seat. "Come back home," James said. "We forgive you." My jaw dropped. "Excuse me," I replied, incredulous. Teasingly, I added, "Oh, are you talking about your sister's husband? Has he disappeared?" Their eyes widened, as if to say, "How do you know?" They stared at me, stunned. "What do you know?" my ex-mother-in-law demanded. "After we registered the marriage, he vanished. We can't contact him." She added with a hint of excitement. "On top of that, he ran off with their family's fortune." "Was this your doing?" "You've brought us such terrible misfortune, daughter-in-law." She looked ready to pounce, but I was tired of their baseless accusations. It was time to reveal a truth I'd been holding back. "Wow, I didn't know your sister liked hamburgers so much," I said sarcastically. "What? What are you talking about, hamburgers all of a sudden?" My ex-mother-in-law snapped. "Don't you know? Your sister's husband isn't some executive at a major company. He's just a part-timer at a hamburger shop." My sister-in-law froze, speechless. I continued, "Back in my single days, my friend and I loved visiting different hamburger shops. There was one favorite spot where a certain employee always messed up orders and got yelled at by the manager." "That man?" "He was your sister's husband." I recognized him from the photo she proudly showed me. I didn't say anything because it wasn't my place to interfere. But recently, I visited the shop with a friend, and he was gone. Probably left town. That's marriage fraud, my sister-in-law shrieked. It seems that's what they call it, I replied coolly. I'm sorry for your loss. My ex-mother-in-law, who'd been silent, exploded. You knew and didn't tell us? We took care of you, who can't even have children, for years. You owe us. Her nonsensical rant pushed me to reveal another truth. First of all, I'm not the reason we couldn't have kids. Maybe my ex-husband can let you in on that. She looked at James in shock, and he guiltily averted his eyes. When we couldn't conceive, we got tested at his mother's insistence. The results? There was nothing wrong with me, but James had a very low sperm count. The doctor confirmed he was the reason we couldn't have children. Yet, when his mother asked about the results, he lied, pinning the blame on me. I was furious, but they dismissed my protests, saying things like, "You have to support your husband." Refusing to face the truth, James and his mother teamed up to scapegoat me. Look, I admit I was wrong, James said suddenly, his tone desperate. Once the house sells, we'll get a good chunk of money, right? Let's all live happily as a family again. His mother chimed in, "We've been through a lot, but let's get along from now on." It dawned on me, they were here for my money. What a disgusting lot. No chance I'm getting back together with you, I said firmly. And I don't consider any of you family. James retorted, "Getting a little big for your boots now, aren't you? I know you sold the house, but you hardly have any savings. How do you plan to survive?" He'd clearly peeked at my bank account during our marriage, and now he wore a smug look, as if he had me cornered. His mother and sister smirked alongside him. Time to enlighten them. Sure, my savings aren't much, I admitted, watching their faces light up. See, I told you so, James crowed. But I continued, I've invested in stocks, enough to live without working for the next few years at least. Their jaws dropped, disbelief etched across their faces. Since I was a child, my father was passionate about stocks and investments, I explained. He had a knack for it, and I inherited those skills. I've built up a decent amount of wealth, enough to support my parents' move abroad. Of course, I kept the secret from my money-grubbing ex-family. Seeing their disappointment, I pressed on. You can leave now. Oh, and what was it again? Our divorce agreement states that if either party approaches the other without reason, they'll pay a penalty. Are you going to pay, or should I call the police for trespassing? The word police sent them scrambling. They left in a hurry, and I immediately consulted my lawyer about the incident, ensuring I'd be protected if they tried to approach me again. As expected, once James learned about my assets, he bombarded me with messages begging to reconcile, sending nostalgic photos of places we'd dated and creepy texts like, "I'm here right now, thinking about those days." I considered blocking him, but kept the messages as evidence. When he started contacting my friends, I'd had enough. I sent him a message, "I'll go to the police if this continues." I attached a photo of our divorce agreement and the nearest police station. After that, the messages stopped, and I never heard from him again. My lawyer later dropped a bombshell. James had planned to live off his sister's new husband and had quit his job when she remarried. What a fool, abandoning a decent job at a decent company. Speaking of evidence, I'd also collected plenty during our marriage. Soon after we wed, I noticed my precious belongings disappearing, a necklace I'd bought myself, a fountain pen my parents gave me as a job-starting gift, bags, rings. The pen, especially, was a cherished keepsake. When I confronted James, he brushed it off, saying, "Don't worry about losing things." Suspicious, I installed a surveillance camera without telling him. The footage revealed James and his mother rifling through my closet, grinning as they took my belongings. When my sister-in-law moved in, the footage showed all three of them stealing and selling my possessions for profit. Their greed fueled their actions, and they likely saw my bank balance at the time. I collected this evidence quietly, and when the time came, I filed for damages and compensation for emotional distress. They must be panicking now, but it's their own doing. As for what happened to them, My sister-in-law's ex-husband discovered the incident and took custody of their daughter. Seeing how little she cared for her child, I felt relieved. Recently, I saw the daughter with her father, happily holding hands while shopping, her smile brighter than I'd ever seen at my in-laws' house. The trio, James, his mother, and sister, applied for welfare but were denied, being healthy and able-bodied. James's pride kept him from finding steady work, and after begging his old workplace to take him back, he was rebuffed. Now he scrapes by with day labor jobs. His mother and sister, forced to pay me compensation, took part-time jobs at a supermarket, struggling with work they're unaccustomed to. Rumor has it, sales at the store have dropped since they started, earning them the nickname the plague-bringing mother and daughter. The marriage scammer? He's still at large. The house they were living in was a rental, and unable to pay, they moved to a run-down apartment infamous in the neighborhood. Their life is hand-to-mouth, filled with constant fighting. The police were called recently due to their loud arguments. As for me, thanks to their help, I sold my parents' house and used the money as capital to start a new apparel company with a colleague from my old job. Our business is thriving, gaining customers, and even being featured in magazines and on TV. Returning to the work I love has brought me unparalleled joy. Oh, and one more thing, I've met a wonderful man through work, and we're getting married. His parents and siblings are kind, treating me with warmth and respect. Best of all, we're expecting a baby, and next year, I'll become the mother I've always dreamed of being. I'm the happiest I've ever been. Hey, where are you right now? I was sleeping at home. Home? There's no sign of my husband at our home. Where is he now? He's lying to me. Let me take you back to when I was pregnant with our first child. My name is Ashley, and I was finally expecting our first baby in our second year of marriage, with just 1 month left until my due date. At 9 months pregnant, I was a mix of excitement and nerves, imagining the whirlwind of childbirth and parenting for the first time. To prepare, I'd planned to return to my parents' house that weekend, where they could help me through the early days of motherhood. I'd mentioned this plan to my husband during the stable period of my pregnancy, but knowing his tendency to forget, I brought it up again. While lazily watching TV, he said, "Going back to your parents." "Oh, I think you mentioned something about that. If you're going, why not just go? I'm not going to have any trouble without you here." His dismissive words stung, but I didn't want to start an argument. "Well, I'm going back this weekend," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'll be giving birth next month, and I plan to stay for a month or 2 afterward. So, I guess I'll be back in about 3 months. Please make sure the room is clean and ready for the baby." All right, I would have done it anyway," he replied, brushing me off. "Oh, and I can't see you off this weekend because I have to work." My heart sank. I'd hoped he'd at least accompany me to the station, but that hope was quickly crushed. I knew he was a workaholic, often working weekends, always seeming busy. But couldn't he spare a thought for how difficult it would be for me, heavily pregnant and lugging baggage, to navigate the trains alone? I understood his workload, but I felt so lonely. I didn't want our baby, soon to be born, to feel that same loneliness. Worse, I was growing anxious about whether we could raise our child together at this rate. When had he become so cold? With these complex feelings swirling, I started packing. Since there was still time before my trip, I sent my luggage, minus my valuables, via a delivery service. I'd hoped to welcome our baby to a clean home, so I'd scrubbed every corner when I started maternity leave early. They say pregnant women develop a nesting instinct, and I was no exception. I'd prepared a baby bed, secured a space for our little one, and was thrilled about starting our new life as a family of 3. But my sloppy husband kept dirtying the places I'd cleaned. Maybe I was to blame for cleaning too early, but he showed no signs of shedding his bachelor habits. Half-drunk bottles of soda littered the counters, and cardboard boxes from his online purchases lay scattered, unopened and unattended. Come to think of it, I'd never seen him cook or clean since we married. Despite my efforts to keep things tidy, the house grew more disordered, and I worried about its state while I was away. But with childbirth imminent, I had no choice. The weekend arrived quickly, and I headed to my parents' home. True to his word, my husband went to work without seeing me off. At my parents' house, I kept in touch with him fairly well. We exchanged emails daily, and I called him every 3 days or so. But gradually, he stopped answering my calls. When I finally got through and asked, "You haven't been picking up lately. Are you busy?" he gave vague responses like, "Well, yeah, or not really." "You're not cheating on me, are you?" I teased, half joking. I heard many men cheat when their wives are pregnant. "Why would I do that?" he snapped, irritation clear in his voice. It's annoying to be doubted on the phone. Feeling cautious, I quickly apologized. "Sorry, it's not good for my mental health to have these worries while nurturing our child." I resolved to trust him. Weeks later, my labor pains started. As I prepared for hospital admission, I called him, embarrassed to show my pained expression, but desperate for his presence. "The labor has started," I told him. "It usually takes about half a day for the first child, so you should be able to make it if you start now. I want you to be there at the moment of birth. You can even cut the umbilical cord." He let out an annoyed sigh. "What? You want me to come by train right now?" "Sorry, I'm tired too, and I have work tomorrow." "You're still talking about work at a time like this?" I cried, incredulous. "Our child is being born. Is work still your priority?" "Shut up," he barked. "There's no replacement for my job. This is the moment our child is born, and it won't happen again? Like I said, if I don't do it, the work won't get done. Can't you understand that? I'm cutting the call because I'm busy." I tried to persuade him, but my words fell on deaf ears. As he hung up, I shed tears, enduring labor pains alone. Why was he so indifferent to our child's birth? From the moment I learned I was pregnant, I put our baby first, but was a father so different? I faced my first childbirth in solitude, the labor pains stretching over a full day. Finally, a beautiful, tiny boy was born, a precious, beloved existence. After discharge, my parents showered him with love, teaching me the ins and outs of childcare. By the time a month passed, I'd become adept at bathing him. They expressed concern, saying, "Are you okay with such a husband? We can't help worrying about you." Not wanting to burden them, I reassured them, "I think I can manage somehow. My health is recovering faster than expected, so I'll go back next week." "Really?" "Don't push yourself," they urged. "Let us know if anything happens. They say a postpartum body is like that of someone who's been in a car accident, but thanks to hormones, my spirits were high and my body was recovering steadily. I was getting used to caring for my son, so I decided to return home earlier than planned. My husband barely contacted me during my stay, showing little reaction to the photos and videos I sent of our son. I told myself a father's love would grow once he interacted with the baby. I didn't tell him I was coming home, but since it was his day off, I assumed he'd be there. I wondered what his reaction would be when he saw our son for the first time. Would our baby like our home? After a few hours' drive, my parents and I arrived. I carried my son while they lugged our baggage. Unlocking the door, I called, "We're home." A bit early, but we're back. Silence greeted me, the room dark and still. "Hey, no one's here?" I said, puzzled. Then, a foul odor hit us. Turning on the light revealed a shocking sight. The room was a garbage dump. Dirty dishes and half-eaten pizza were stuffed in the sink, clothes and food trash scattered everywhere. Mold floated in half-drunk juice bottles, emitting a stench. The table was stained, the shower and sink covered in black mold, the toilet filthy. Worst of all, the crib we'd prepared for our son was piled with cardboard boxes and garbage bags. I'd begged him to keep it clean for our baby, but this was the reality. I was devastated. "There's no way we can live in such a dirty house," I said, my voice trembling. And above all, I'm heartbroken about the crib being soiled. My parents were furious. "Isn't this too much?" they exclaimed. "There's no way we can raise a baby here." They searched the house for my husband, but he was nowhere to be found. Where could he be on his day off? I wondered. Another weekend shift, perhaps? But doubt crept in. His company followed the calendar, and weekend work didn't increase his salary. I'd been questioning his constant weekend absences. Let's try calling him, I said. Unable to stand in the cluttered room, I took my bewildered parents outside and dialed his number. He didn't answer the first 2 calls, but on the third, he finally picked up. Hey, where are you now? I asked. I was sleeping at home, he said casually. We'd searched the entire house, and there was no sign of him. His tone didn't sound like someone who'd just woken up. Then I heard it, a woman's voice in the background. I couldn't make out her words, but it was unmistakable. In that moment, everything clicked. He was cheating on me. I couldn't believe it. While I was pregnant, alone, and preparing for our child, he was neglecting our home and our baby to be with another woman. Fury surged through me. A father like this is unnecessary for our son, I thought. I'm fed up with a husband like this. If he loves her so much, he can have her. How can you live in such a messy, rotting house? I demanded. Oh, I get it. Maybe a burglar came in. I need to report this to the police. Huh? You're at your parents' house, right? What are you talking about? He replied, confused. My anger boiled over at his lies. You're the one lying about sleeping at home, aren't you? Stop playing dumb. It's absolutely unacceptable to turn our baby's crib into a garbage dump. I'm not coming back to this house. We're getting a divorce. I hung up, my words rapid and final. To punish him, I reported a burglary to the police. I sent my parents and son back to their house and waited for my husband in front of our home. The police arrived first, and I invited them in as if welcoming guests. Soon after, I saw him approaching with a woman by his side. He looked panicked. Hey, you weren't supposed to be back until next month, he exclaimed. But who is she? The woman glared at me, arms crossed. And who are you, for that matter, she snapped. Despite confronting his mistress, I felt an eerie calm. I questioned her, learning he'd hidden his marriage from her. Disgusted, I turned to him. Don't touch me, it's repulsive. The police are checking the room right now. I hope you're embarrassed having them see the mess you've made. I'm leaving. You can explain to the police. Goodbye. Leaving them stunned, I returned to my parents' house. He called repeatedly, but I ignored him until that night. Apparently, he'd explained the situation to the police, who struggled with the house's stench and clutter. It must have been humiliating, but he brought it upon himself. Come on, I'm sorry. Come back, he pleaded. I've been looking forward to seeing our son. If he truly felt sorry, he would have come to my parents' house. You never showed any interest before, and now you suddenly care? I retorted. You weren't even there when I gave birth, despite me begging you to come. Well, I thought you knew I'd clean up the room, he stammered. I can't do household chores without you. I need you. No matter how much you beg, it's not happening, I said. You should have kept that woman if you can't handle housework. Have her do it. That was just a fling, he insisted. A momentary lapse. You're the only one for me, Ashley. A fling. I scoffed. Weren't you seeing her every time you said you were working overtime? He mumbled incoherently, then confessed he'd been cheating with multiple women from his high school, reconnected at a friend's wedding. You disgust me, I said, my voice cold. Were you planning to touch our son with those hands? Unthinkable. I won't do it again, he pleaded. I'll come pick you up right now. I want to see you and our son. I'll prove my sincerity. Let's go home together. I can't trust you, I said firmly. There's nothing more to talk about. I'll raise our son on my own. Ashley, please. I hung up, the call's end echoing in my ear. Our short marital life was over. Half a year later, I started working, relying on my parents' support. I'm in divorce negotiations, mainly for alimony. My husband, unable to manage household chores, eats out constantly, leaving the house in disarray. But that's no longer my concern. I'll pour all my love into raising my son, determined to give him the life he deserves. S.O., you're really coming to our wedding, huh? I'll be embarrassed to introduce you as my sister-in-law to our relatives." Those cutting words came from my brother's fiancée, Lily, and they stung more than I cared to admit. My name is Katie, and I'm a 37-year-old single woman who dropped out of school. I'm not ashamed of my dropout status or my single life. In fact, I'm proud to say I've lived this way to support my precious family. We've always been poor, fatherless since I was born. My mother, unmarried, raised me and my younger brother, Georgie, 2 years my junior, through relentless hard work. We barely made ends meet, and though relatives occasionally offered money, my mother always declined, saying, "Please, let us rely on you only when we're truly desperate. We're okay for now." When I asked why she refused, she explained, "If I take his money, his wife might feel upset." But I wished she'd accepted. Georgie was a brilliant kid, topping his grade in elementary school. As his overly proud sister, I believed he was destined for greatness. His teacher recommended him for a prestigious school, but we couldn't afford it. He ended up at a subpar school, and I felt terrible for him. So I dropped out of school without hesitation and started working. Truthfully, I hated studying, so it was an easy choice. The jobs available to a dropout weren't glamorous, but I landed a position in a small office. When the owner retired and closed the business, he recommended me to a reputable company he had connections with. I worked tirelessly, earning a manager title by 35 and a salary comparable to a college graduate. But Lily, Georgie's fiancée, doesn't see that. To her, I'm just a failed dropout who couldn't make it to college. Georgie, now a graduate of a prestigious university, thrives as a salesman at a top-tier company, ABC Trading. Lily, the daughter of a director there, is undeniably beautiful but far from kind. When she first visited our rundown apartment, she was so appalled she refused to step inside, complaining, "I dressed up so nicely, and I'm getting dirty." She was embarrassed that her boyfriend commuted from such a place. Using her father's influence, she moved Georgie into company housing meant for families, claiming they'd live there after marriage. There was a catch. Outsiders, even close relatives, were prohibited from entering without applying each time. "I guess I can't visit often," I joked. "I wanted to peek at your happy newlywed life." Lily's mother replied coldly, "That's precisely why we decided to have them live in a family house." Lily's rudeness extended to my mother. She whispered, out of Georgie's earshot, "Because your mother-in-law was poor, Georgie will have to keep paying back his student loans even after marriage. It's natural for parents to pay for tuition, right?" and glared at her. The truth? My mother and I had saved for Georgie's college fund, but he insisted on paying it himself. Lily and her mother have difficult personalities, but Georgie is aware of their pretentiousness. "I want my mom to move into the company house too," he said, "but Lily says siblings aren't eligible, so you'll be alone, Katie." That's pitiful. When I mentioned I'd graduated college with a scholarship, Lily's mother praised me, saying, "You want to relieve your mom as soon as possible, right? You're such a thoughtful person." Georgie spoke glowingly of their kindness, and since they seemed to get along, we stayed silent. That was a mistake. With Georgie's wedding just 2 weeks away, Lily called me. "Sister-in-law, do you plan to attend our wedding?" "Of course," I replied. "He's my only brother." The venue is luxurious, with about 150 guests, including the president and managing director of ABC Corporation and higher-ups from our clients, she said. "I think all the guests will feel uncomfortable if there's one poor-looking sister-in-law." "Poor-looking?" I said, stunned. "I plan to wear a proper formal outfit." "Your proper is probably a suit from a catalog that costs about 10,000 yen, right?" she sneered. It's embarrassing to be surrounded by people wearing high-end brands. "To be frank, I don't want you to come to our wedding." Fed up with her implication that poor people weren't welcome, I asked, "What about my mother?" "She doesn't have high-end clothes either." "I know that," Lily replied. "But I can't not invite Georgie, a promising company member." We'll prepare your mother's clothes so she won't embarrass us. I was furious at her condescending tone, but tried to see it as consideration for my mother's sake. Of course, you'll have to buy that dress, she added. It's an Oscar de la Renta evening dress, so prepare about $10,000. Wait, I can't afford that. I protested. If you can't pay, you'll have to, she said. Or do you plan to stand next to my parents in a cheap dress? Flabbergasted, I asked, what does Georgie think? I haven't told him, of course, she said. He thinks you and your mother will attend, but it'll tarnish his future if his mother is unmarried and his sister is a dropout. Nowadays, having a single mother or a dropout in the family doesn't affect a career, I argued, refusing to let her prejudice win. It's my only brother's wedding, so both my mother and I will attend. We'll prepare our own clothes and won't pay for yours. If you can't stand it, don't invite us. I told my mother everything, seeking her advice. She looked downcast, but eventually said, Don't worry, Katie. I promise to make Georgie happy. Leave it to me. She made a phone call, and what she revealed was astounding. On the wedding day, a solemn ceremony took place in the chapel. I debated telling Georgie about Lily's words, but left it to my mother and stayed silent. Georgie's expression seemed stiff nerves, or had my mother told him something? At the reception, I checked the seating chart and was shocked. My mother's name was listed in the family section, but mine was nowhere to be found. They were really trying to exclude me. Lily's parents approached, giving me a disdainful look. I can't believe you didn't understand when Lily told you not to come to the reception, they said. We let you attend the ceremony because we had no choice, but we can't stand having you spread your poverty around. Go home. Drop out, sister. Fine, I'll go, I said, turning away from their smirks. Just then, the CEO of Nakamami Corporation, a business partner of Lily's father, appeared with Georgie. Mr. Ashcroft, thank you so much for coming, Georgie said. Katie, you're in the way, Lily's parents snapped. Sorry, Mr. Ashcroft, we were just getting rid of an unwanted guest. Mr. Ashcroft spoke up. If you insist on kicking Katie out, I, as her father, will also abstain from the reception. Father, I gasped. What do you mean? They stared blankly. As I said, Katie is my daughter, he repeated. It turned out Mr. Ashcroft and my mother were in a relationship in their 20s. He was an executive, poised to become CEO, while my mother, orphaned after an accident, was alone. Their relationship faced opposition, and when she became pregnant with me, Nakamami Corporation was on the brink of bankruptcy. Everyone opposed their marriage, saying it wouldn't help the company. My mother chose to delay their marriage, raising me as a single mother with love for Mr. Ashcroft despite societal stigma. When she became pregnant with Georgie, the company's situation hadn't improved. When a CEO's daughter offered marriage to Mr. Ashcroft to save the company, my mother stepped back, saying, I'll raise our 2 kids properly. You don't have to acknowledge them. Just be happy and revive your company. Mr. Ashcroft revived the company, making it a listed corporation, but his marriage was childless and ended in divorce due to his wife's infidelity. Days before Georgie's wedding, he met with my mother and me, revealing he was the uncle who'd visited our apartment, offering money. He wanted Georgie to take over Nakamami Corporation, but needed to test his character. The day before the wedding, he and my mother told Georgie the truth about their relationship and Lily's family's attempts to exclude us. Seeing my name missing from the seating chart and Lily's parents trying to drive me out, Georgie was convinced. He confronted Lily at the reception desk. Lily, Mr. and Mrs. Lily, I'm annulling this marriage. I have no intention of becoming family with people who belittle my mother and sister. You can't say that. Lily protested. It's a misunderstanding, her parents stammered. But Lily, oblivious, dropped a bombshell. Georgie, are you choosing that lowlife mother and daughter over me? You should know your place. Her parents tried to restrain her, but it was too late. When I explained everything, Lily collapsed in tears. Mr. Ashcroft added, I guess we'll reconsider our business with your company," causing Lily's parents to apologize profusely. The reception was canceled, and Georgie cut ties with Lily, never submitting the marriage registration. Lily later called me, screaming, "You're the reason I couldn't marry Georgie. I'll bill you for the cancellation fees." "Oh, really?" I replied. "Then I'll sue you for defamation. Everyone heard your family's abusive language, and your father's been demoted and sidelined at an economy corporation. Should I tell him you threatened me? They might cut ties with ABC Trading entirely, and he'll lose his job." She fell silent, sobbing, and I hung up. Georgie transferred to Nakamami Corporation, working hard to become his father's right-hand man. My mother and Mr. Ashcroft are getting married soon. She's shy about a wedding at 60, but looks genuinely happy picking out her dress. I've been devoted to work, but now dream of wearing her wedding dress someday. Will you go out with me? Just a week after meeting him, he confessed his feelings. Caught off guard by his boldness, I said yes. A year later, with no reason to break up, he proposed. "I'll protect you for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" It was a joyful moment, but looking back, his profession might have made such declarations second nature. My name is Melissa, a 30-year-old office worker. My fiancé, Sam, is a 32-year-old police officer from a long line of law enforcement. We met at a hobby event my high school friend invited me to. Approaching my 30s, I'd started thinking about marriage, but had no prospects. I joined the event without high hopes, but Sam took a liking to me. A week later, we went to dinner, and he confessed. His proposal came recently, despite his busy schedule sometimes keeping us apart. He often said I was his type, which made me happy, but his comments like, "We don't have any high school graduates in our family." Well, I guess it can't be helped, bothered me. I only graduated high school, choosing to work to support my single mother rather than attend college. Sam, a university graduate, seemed elite, so maybe his attitude was inevitable. When I shared my story, he nodded understandingly, and I believed he meant no harm. My parents divorced when I was in elementary school due to my father's debts. My mother raised me alone without child support, so I didn't want to burden her with college costs. Though encouraged to pursue a scholarship, I chose work to earn money quickly. I told Sam this, and when I asked, "You don't have any debts, do you?" he laughed, saying, "Of course not. I know your mother struggled with debts. That's why I hate them." Relieved, I decided to marry him. I live away from home, but talk to my mother often. She was thrilled about Sam's proposal, though we haven't introduced him due to his schedule. We planned a family meeting soon. Before that, Sam asked me to visit his parents' house. Nervous, I went with him. His mother was quiet, but his father, a police officer, seemed imposing. After greetings, he launched into a long monologue about cases he'd solved, insisting he was the only one who could have cracked them. I nodded politely, my tea growing cold as I couldn't find a moment to sip it. 20 minutes felt like an eternity. His stories were painfully dull. Sam, sitting beside me, seemed unfazed, sipping tea and munching snacks, even asking for a second cup. Was he always this inconsiderate, or was he just used to his father's rambling? After an hour, his father paused, and I reached for my tea stone cold. Sam's mother offered to make a fresh pot, but he interrupted. "It's fine. Melissa likes her drinks lukewarm. I do prefer lukewarm drinks, but not this cold." When his father returned from smoking outside, the tobacco smell lingered, slightly unpleasant, though I appreciated that he smoked outdoors. Then, something outrageous happened. He spread documents on the table, about me. "I had a background check done on you," he said matter-of-factly. I was shocked, feeling like I'd done something wrong. "Raised by a single parent and only a high school graduate," he sighed. "You just barely pass." Barely? I thought, hurt. Was it my single-parent upbringing or my education? Sam turned to me, grinning. "Good job, Melissa. You passed." I let out a sigh of relief, but Sam explained, "When you're a cop, You have to do a background check on whoever you're marrying. It'd be problematic if there were criminals in the family or if investigative information got leaked. His explanation made sense, but I wished he'd told me sooner. Showing me the results and saying I barely passed felt rude. Still, I passed, so I let it go. As we wrapped up, Sam offered to drive me to my mom's place. In the car, I joked I was surprised by the background check, but I guess that's part of being a cop. Maybe I should do one on you, just for fun. He laughed. Go ahead. You won't find anything about me. We reached my mom's apartment, and she came out to greet us. With no parking, Sam left after a quick hello. Inside, I told her about the visit. She was surprised about the background check, but said, it must be tough being a cop, but I don't like their methods. Then she added, that guy has a fancy car and looks well off. Do cops make that much? He doesn't have any debt, right? I wasn't sure about Sam's salary, but assumed it was decent for an elite officer. My mother's concerns stemmed from my father's debts, which caused their divorce. A month later, we arranged to meet at a station to head to a fancy restaurant Sam's family frequented for our families to meet. Sam and his parents were already there. His father started with a snide remark, we've been waiting. This is your first time in a place like this, isn't it? Must have been hard getting here without a car. I had something to say but hesitated. His father bragged for 10 minutes before I gathered my courage. Excuse me, I interrupted. He looked displeased. It's rude to interrupt when someone is speaking. Don't you have any manners? I wanted to retort that he was the one lacking manners, droning on about uninteresting topics, but I took a deep breath. I'm sorry, but I'd like to reconsider this marriage. Sam looked surprised. Melissa? What do you mean? Is it because of the background check? He asked. I shook my head. The background check isn't a big deal. It's your dad's attitude, talking about the results like that, and his constant bragging. But that's not the main issue. Sam, you lied to me. He froze. Lied? You mean about dating 2 girls at once? I've already been dumped by the other. I only have eyes for you, Melissa. Believe me. I was stunned. He'd been two-timing me? From what you're saying, you were dating 2 girls, got dumped by one, and decided to marry me? I said, confused. I never expected I was being two-timed. His father glared at him, his mother in shock. I couldn't bear to look at my own mother's face, surely furious. I pulled a document from my bag and handed it to Sam. That's the reason we can't get married. As I tried to leave with my mother, his father shouted, What's going on? Are you making fun of my son? We could sue you for calling off the engagement, but you couldn't pay the compensation. We blessed this marriage despite you being a high school graduate and raised by a single parent. What's your problem? Is this how you were raised? His words ignited my anger. My mother stepped in. This isn't a unilateral cancellation, and I'd appreciate it if you stopped ridiculing my daughter. Sam opened the document, and his mother's face paled. His father continued yelling, What's this document? If you're marrying into our distinguished family, you should tolerate a little two-timing. I was floored. He thought two-timing was acceptable. Moreover, he continued, I don't want a daughter-in-law who proudly calls herself part of a distinguished family. The restaurant's customers were staring, and I wanted to leave. I thought it'd be inappropriate to say this publicly, but it seems I must. I said firmly. The lie I mentioned is about debt. Sam told me he had no debt, but he's been in debt multiple times, running to his father for help, even during our relationship. That's why I'm reconsidering. His father shouted, Be quiet. You have to tolerate that much if you're marrying. So I'm not getting married, I replied with a sigh. Unexpectedly, his mother spoke up. Enough is enough. I told you not to pay off Sam's debts to break his habit, but you did it again, didn't you? It's embarrassing to call ourselves distinguished when you're not even married yet. Melissa, your mother, I deeply apologize for my husband and son's rudeness. I'll contact you later. My mother and I left. On the way home, I asked, Mom, why did you say we should investigate? She laughed. Maybe it's a woman's intuition. When she saw Sam drop me off, she had a hunch. Not wanting me to suffer like she did, she requested a background check. The results arrived the night before our dinner, revealing Sam's debts. I didn't have time to cancel, so we went ahead. I don't hate Sam, but I despise his father. I don't want to marry someone whose family I'd have to endure. Sam called, saying I had plans to pay it back. It's not a problem, right? But lying about debts and timing was too much. Let's break up. Goodbye, I said, hanging up. The next day, his mother called, apologizing and revealing she was divorcing her husband. She offered to introduce me to a lawyer to claim damages for the broken engagement, given Sam's lies and cheating. I decided to pursue it. She received a hefty alimony sum after her husband's infidelity was exposed. I got a decent amount for Sam's timing, which continued until his proposal. When I told my friends, the news spread and Sam's friends distanced themselves. Rumors at his workplace made it hard for him and his father to show their faces. Thanks to my mother's intuition, I avoided marrying such a man. We're planning a vacation together soon. Just the two of us. I didn't exactly see myself footing a bill of around $40,000, you know. Just because you have money doesn't mean you should always have to spend it. Well, I'm an elite, he said smugly. If it bothers you so much that I spend money, you're welcome to stop. Gladly, I replied. I'll stop, and I can even take this to court if we follow the proper procedures. My name is Angela, a 56-year-old lawyer who lost my husband to illness 10 years ago. I've raised my two sons, Frank and Righteous, on my own, thanks to my career. Frank, my youngest, is a freelance writer, independent and mysterious about his work. I trust him to carve his own path. Righteous, my elder son, is a salaried worker, careless with money and overly confident about his charm. I'm handsome. I've never had trouble with women, he boasts, introducing me to a string of flashy girlfriends. It worries me. I live alone in an apartment near my small law office, leading a leisurely life. One day, Righteous called. Hey, Mom, it's been a while. How have you been? I'm doing great, I said. It's indeed been a long time. Are you doing well, Righteous? Yeah, I'm good. Can I come over for a talk soon? A talk? What about? I'll be waiting for your day off, he said, evasive. Okay, I'll come over then, I agreed. Knowing Righteous was visiting, I cleaned my apartment with enthusiasm. Just as I finished, the doorbell rang. Come in, I said. I just finished cleaning. Do you keep your place tidy, Righteous? Yeah, Mom. I'm thinking about getting married. Oh, congratulations, I exclaimed. So, you finally found someone to settle down with? You always go for flamboyant girls, no offense, but I was worried you chose her for her looks. Are you sure about this? You thought that about me? That's harsh, he said, laughing. Sorry. You mentioned you wanted to talk about something. Yeah, my girlfriend is an only child and has always dreamed of a big wedding to show her parents her bridal look. But her parents have chronic illnesses and can't work. Can you help us out with the wedding costs, Mom? Righteous, haven't you been saving up? I asked. I've saved a little, but I need to think about our living expenses too. I'm a guy, I don't really care about the wedding ceremony that much. Well, if that's the case, I guess it can't be helped, I said. Thanks, Mom. I'll make sure you get to see your grandchild, so please spoil them. Wait, a grandchild? Are you having a shotgun wedding? Sorry, nowadays we call it a joyful wedding, he said, grinning. Anyway, we need to greet her parents too. She wants the wedding before she starts to show, so we've already booked the venue. For that, we need money. How much are we talking about? $40,000, he said. I'm not sure about average costs, but okay. More importantly, let's arrange a day to meet her parents. Got it, he said and left. I was about to become a grandmother, a thought that thrilled me. My friends, already grandmothers, said grandchildren were special. But a shotgun wedding worried me. How would society view it? I spent days fretting, wondering if I, as the groom's mother, should apologize or meet her parents sooner. Then, Frank called. Mom, I heard Big Brother's getting married. Is that true? Yes, dear. We've even paid the venue deposit. Wait, the venue's already booked? He asked. It's a shotgun wedding, or do they call it a celebration marriage now? Call it what you want, but is Big Brother really ready for this? Ready for what? He's always brought home flaky women, Frank said. I told him the same, but apparently her parents have chronic illnesses and are unemployed, so Righteous asked me to provide the wedding funds. Isn't it strange that you're the only one footing the bill, even for a shotgun wedding? Frank asked. I guess that's why they call it a shotgun wedding. It makes the groom's family feel guilty. I think you're the one who feels that way, Mom, he said, laughing. I laughed too, feeling old-fashioned. Days later, Righteous called. Sorry for the late response. She's been dealing with severe morning sickness. Is she okay? Unable to eat, or does she keep eating? I asked, drawing on my own pregnancy experiences. You sure know a lot, Mom, he said. She's more of the can't-eat type. It's tough. That must be hard. Is she getting enough nutrition? There's got to be something she can eat. When I was pregnant, I could only keep down canned oranges and tomatoes. Now I can't stand either because I ate too much. So that's what it's like, huh? It sounds tough, he said. Sure is. That's why you need to take good care of her. Thanks, Mom. I'll get back to you once things settle. I forgot to mention the wedding funds, but he seemed worried about his girlfriend's health, so I let it go. Memories of raising Righteous and Frank flooded back, their cries as infants, my struggles, my late husband's kindness. I wished he were here. Frank visited soon after. What brings you here? I asked. You seem thinner. Are you eating enough? I'm fine, Mom. Work's been busy. Anyway, about Big Brother. Is he really getting married? Why do you ask? You said you haven't met her parents because of her morning sickness, right? I saw him with a woman who looked like his girlfriend. They were shopping, holding bags from expensive brands. She didn't look pregnant at all. What does that mean? I asked, shocked. You transferred the money for the venue, right? Are they really planning a wedding? What if they canceled it and used the money to go shopping? No way, that can't be true, I said, my heart sinking. Was it really Righteous? I'll look into it properly, Frank said. For now, act like you didn't hear this, and don't talk to Big Brother. As a lawyer, I handle everything from infidelity to criminal cases, but I never thought I'd be deceived by my own son. Days later, Righteous called. Sorry for being late, Mom. Are you free on my next day off? I want to introduce you to her parents at XXX Hotel. Understood. I'm looking forward to meeting them, I said, hiding my doubts. At the hotel's restaurant, with its beautiful view and perfect weather, I wished I were in a better mood. Righteous, his girlfriend Daisy, and her parents were seated. I apologize for making you wait, I said. No, we arrived early, Daisy's mother replied. Nice to meet you. I'm Daisy's mother. Nice to meet you, Daisy added. The pleasure is mine. She was beautiful, Righteous type, wearing a stunning dress and high heels odd for a pregnant woman, but I held my tongue. Her parents, supposedly unemployed due to chronic illnesses, were dressed impeccably, her mother carrying a designer bag. We're thrilled Daisy was chosen, her mother said. Righteous works at a prestigious company, and you're a lawyer. We're honored to be connected to your family. I think Daisy's too good for Righteous, but thank you, I replied. The meal proceeded pleasantly. So, Righteous, when's the wedding? I asked. About that, he said, we don't need to rush. But I already transferred $40,000 to the venue, I said, confused. More importantly, I found a suitable property for our new home, he said, showing me a high-rise condo brochure. We're thinking of having the wedding after we move and settle in, so we need funds for the condo, Mom. He and her parents bowed, saying, please, for the sake of these two, we ask your support. A condo fund out of nowhere? I was stunned. Then Frank appeared. Mom, it's going to be okay. What do you mean? I asked. Brother, stop playing these cheap tricks, Frank said. Tricks? What are you talking about? Righteous replied. I did some digging, Frank said. The story about her parents being unemployed due to chronic illness is a lie, isn't it? They both work. Why is only Mom providing the wedding funds? And what's this about a condo? He placed a voice recorder on the table, playing a conversation between Righteous and Daisy's father. Aren't you worried your mother might find out Daisy's pregnancy was a lie? Her father asked. No need to worry, Righteous replied. My mother's kind-hearted and worries when I mention Daisy's morning sickness. We got a refund from the venue after canceling. With that money, and if we ask her for the condo down payment, we can live together. She has plenty of money. I felt dizzy, but Frank supported me. Daisy's pregnancy was a lie? They'd swindled the wedding funds and now wanted more for a condo? I was often told I'm too kind-hearted, I said. Brother, apologize to Mom. This is fraud. What do you mean, fraud? Righteous snapped. You're going to be family. I don't need to hear this from a freelance writer like you. Unfortunately, while writing, I attended school and passed the bar exam, Frank said. I'm helping Mom at her office, so you don't get to talk back. I just learned Frank passed the bar, a moment of pride amidst the shock. I'll give up on the $40,000, I said. Consider it settlement money. We don't remember being taken care of for a mere $40,000. Daisy's parents protested. Don't you want to see your grandchild? I don't want a grandchild from parents who deceive me, I said. What kind of face will their child have? I'd love to know. Even Frank, a budding lawyer, won't have a wedding soon. I've never thought of burdening you, Mom, Frank said. I'm marrying your secretary, hardworking, observant, adorable, not after money. Our wedding will be within our means, and brother, you're not invited. Excuse me, Daisy said, surprised. Righteous, that's not what we discussed. You said your mom has money. I'm an elite salaryman, Righteous insisted. I can manage the condo funds myself. Excellent, I said. I'll gladly cut you off and take it to court if needed. I refuse to pay anything. Let's go, Daisy, her father said. With your charm, you can marry any rich man. On to the next one. Even an elite has limits when he runs to his mom, Daisy said, leaving nonchalantly. I watched Righteous chase after her, regretting how I'd raised him. What a day, I said. You did well, Mom, Frank said. I feel like I've lost years of my life. Don't say that, I replied. I plan to be a good son from now on. I sold my apartment and built a house outside the city, spending weekdays in a rental near the office and weekends at home. I'll work hard to spend my golden years peacefully with my grandchildren. Frank, who studied to become a lawyer to help me, started dating my secretary without me noticing. He proposed after passing the bar, and she's a wonderful woman from a respectable family. Righteous, led astray by Daisy, resigned after their breakup. Jobless and naive, he's struggling to find work, even begging at my old apartment until a neighbor called the police. I hope he changes, but for now, I'll keep my new home a secret, a place filled with memories of his father. My name is Olivia, 35 years old. I've known my husband, Nick, since college, and we've been together for 15 years, including our dating days. We both work at the company we joined after graduation, and our dual incomes make life comfortable. The more income, the easier life gets, Nick said. Let's do it. I agreed, choosing to keep working after marriage to preserve my career. Soon after we wed, Nick proposed, things at home might get tough with both of us working, right? What do you think about living with my parents? I accepted immediately. I'm delighted. I want to live with your dad, Mom, and Lola too. Yay, you all get along so well, don't you? Nick said. Even Dad, Mom, and Lola, she talks about wanting a sister in front of me. I wish she'd consider my position. I'd built a great relationship with Nick's family during our courtship. They welcomed me warmly, and we often went out together, so I had no doubts. But marriage and cohabitation changed everything. At 5 a.m., I'd silence my smartphone alarm and head to the kitchen. I'd boil water, prepare bacon and eggs, and set out the morning paper. My father-in-law, a high-ranking executive at a major company, would come downstairs. Good morning, I'd say. Good morning. I'll prepare the coffee, he'd reply, nodding. He started work early, and after eating, he'd bring his dishes to the sink, saying, "Let me do at least this much." He was quiet but kind, never acting superior. At 6:45, Lola, my sister-in-law, would stomp downstairs. "Oh, I'm sleepy," she'd groan, ignoring my greeting. "I was in the mood for cereal today," she'd say, checking the kitchen. "I'm sorry, I made pancakes," I'd reply. "I knew it," she'd snap, throwing the pancakes I'd slaved over into the trash. "Okay, let's make them again." She'd dump the plate in the sink, expecting me to wash it. From the first day of marriage, I was initiated into my role as a servant. At 7 o'clock, my mother-in-law would wake up, complaining, "Yuck, what's this? You didn't make pancakes." Nick would wake up casually, saying, "Just cooperate, would you? You're going to make everyone's breakfast late." I'd protested about Lola's wastefulness, but my complaints were ignored, met with unsettling grins. I realized I'd been tricked. I wanted to quit this arrangement, but hoped they'd come around. 6 years later, nothing had changed. Nick dismissed my concerns, saying, "I'm sure they have their reasons," or shifting blame. "Olivia doesn't like it, so stop." He didn't care about anyone but himself. I ate breakfast standing, snatching bites while doing chores, no time to sit and enjoy. I'd tidy up, do laundry, and clean, only to be met with demands. On your way back, pick up snacks. Oh, and my makeup too. They never helped. I woke at 5 a.m. because my job required preparing breakfast and lunch. I left at 8 a.m., while my mother-in-law and Lola didn't bother to see me out. I work as an office administrator, my hours ending at 6 p.m., but I often stayed late. Calls from my in-laws, "Is my daughter-in-law there? Can she stop working overtime?" Made me feel guilty, so I brought work home. I'd return around 7 p.m., Nick by 8 o'clock, and I'd prepare dinner, finish laundry, and face complaints. "Can't you come home earlier? The laundry's not done." Lola would add, "You can't even manage chores properly." Sometimes they'd withhold my dinner, but I still had to cook for everyone else, clean dishes, and serve coffee. Nick would arrive mid-meal, never helping. "Pasta today?" I was in the mood for pizza, he'd say. "What's up? Are you in a bad mood?" "Just eat your food," I'd snap, his remarks grating on me. After they slept, I'd finish chores and work until 1 a.m. When my father-in-law returned late, I'd prepare his meal, apologizing for the delay. He'd say, "No, I'll shower first," and I'd clean up after. One day, I collapsed at work, dizzy. After resting, my boss gave me the afternoon off. At home, my mother-in-law and Lola mocked me. "Isn't it unusual for you to be home this early?" I wasn't feeling well, I said. "Is it an excuse?" They laughed. "You look fine." It's not good to use sickness to slack off. Work harder. Their insensitivity made me feel worse than angry. "You can put more effort into dinner today, right?" They added. "You've got time." Nick came home expecting a homemade meal, showing no concern. I cook steak, facing complaints. "Cook it more." "No sausages?" "We don't need vegetables." I'd reached my limit. "I'm quitting my job," I told Nick. "It's too hard to balance chores and work." "That's unrealistic," he laughed. "We contribute $1,500 to household expenses monthly. It'll be hard with just my salary. Can we reduce that?" I asked. "Mom would say no," he replied. "Just try harder." I hated him in that moment. Fate intervened. My company was downsizing, and I chose to resign. "You're leaving because the company's doing poorly?" Nick asked. "Yes. I'll focus on chores now," I said. Mother-in-law and Lola were livid. "Are you out of your mind? What about the money?" "It'll be hard on Nick." "There are things I can't do," I said. Juggling work and chores was exhausting. "No, you said it's impossible," they shouted. "We need $2,000 to get by." I thought the $1,500 I provided was for living expenses, I said. "Utilities can't cost that much." Mother-in-law revealed that's not just for living expenses. It's for the mortgage and home improvements, a fixed $1,500 monthly. What? That was supposed to be managed with father-in-law's salary. I exclaimed. Why use Nick's money when we have a wife who's like a wallet? They laughed. Dumbfounded to be called a wallet, I realized they saw me as a cash source. Mom, she quit her job and has no income, Nick said. Shouldn't we get rid of her? Yes, they agreed. We're not obligated to care for you or provide a place to stay. You'll need to move out until you find a job, Nick said, smiling. Shocked, I was pushed toward the door, too stunned to resist. You don't deserve a free meal, they said. Come back when you can pay. With only my smartphone, I walked away, too weak to fight. My parents' home wasn't an option. Nick had likely called them, knowing they'd side with him. You're not thinking of coming back, are you? My mother said. Apologize to your in-laws. Sitting on a park bench at 9 p.m., I realized I'd left my wallet. Sneaking back, I saw my father-in-law approach, handing me my bag. I found it at the door, he said. Weeks later, I ignored their calls and messages, begging me to return. I mailed divorce papers, claiming a refund of the $99,000 I'd paid for the mortgage over 5.5 years, plus compensation. Nick called frantically. What's with the lawyer? Let's settle in court. I'm in a tough situation, he pleaded. Mom's been served divorce papers by Dad. She wants to stay in the house. Support her. No way, I said. Why return to that hell? The house is a garbage dump because no one's doing chores, he said. Why don't you do them? I asked. That's your job as my wife. Then pay me $2 per hour, 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. to midnight. You're out of your mind, he shouted. There's no paycheck for housework. My father-in-law paid me, I said. On the day I was kicked out, he'd bowed deeply, apologizing. I warned Nick several times. I feared this might happen. He handed me a banking card in my name, opened after we married, with $200,000. I knew Nick was up to something, he said. This is your salary for housework, $12 per hour for 5.5 years. I hope that's okay. Moved to tears, I said. I owe you nothing but gratitude. Please feel free to comment below if you like this. Remember to like and subscribers for more.